Good morning.
Good morning.
Aloha.
Aloha.
E koma koma kui loko o kalani. That's all I know. It's so great to be back. You know, I was in Hawaii last week, and it was very reviving. It's a homecoming for me because I lived there for years with my children, and so going back there is very special, and it was a very special trip. I want to speak about two things today that came from that trip. I want to speak about intention and connection, two very important states of consciousness that can heal all kinds of things. Setting an intention and then making it happen through connection. So last week in Hawaii, I was with my daughter, Maggie, my son, John, his girlfriend, they've been together for years, and her parents from China. And we were all in a condo together in Kona, across the street from the ocean. It was really quite an interesting experience. But it was a time of connection and intention. So I want to share with you some of the experiences I had. The very last day we were there, before we left the next day, we went to Ho'onanau, which is in the city of refuge. It's the most wonderful snorkeling place in the world. And, when I was there in the 70s, running around in a bikini, I was on the beach all the time. But now it's a different story. So now I said to my daughter, let me put together a bathing costume. You know, you have to get to a point where you really don't care. And you can look in the mirror and laugh at yourself because it was quite an outfit. But anyway, I got in the water and I did some snorkeling and I was riding around on a boogie board and then we got out. But Ho'onanau is it's lava rock. And then there's little pockets of sand, and then there's more lava rock and sand. You really have to be careful on lava rock. It's slippery, it's sharp. And so my daughter was leading the way, and we were going back to where we were encamped. And I stepped off the lava rock into the sand and somehow went down and smashed my knee on the lava rock. This is something you don't want to do. Lava rock is teeming with organisms. You do not want to get cut on lava rock. It can be serious. You can get staph infections so easily in Hawaii. So I did a little face plant too, but fortunately that didn't have any lasting effects. But my daughter immediately tended to me, and my son went and got a bottle of water and poured it on my very bad-looking knee. I'd show you my boo-boo, but it's all taped up. Somebody else brought a bag of ice, and it really hurt a lot, and I wasn't quite ready to stand up yet, so I took a few minutes, and then out of nowhere, these two young women came by, maybe in their late 30s. They had this very professional first aid kit, and they're opening it up, and they're taking out medicine and gauze pads and surgical scissors and tape, and someone said, "Are you nurses?" And they said, "No, we're doctors." I attracted two doctors on the beach in Hawaii in the most remote landmass in the world. I mean, isn't that wonderful? What a connection, right? And so they gave me stuff to take home and so that we could do it again later on. But another connection, they were from Toronto, which is where my son is from. And so it was like, isn't this great? Everybody is exactly where they need to be right now for some reason. Why did I fall? I think I just needed a little bit of loving care from somebody. Wasn't getting a whole lot of it elsewhere. So it was really kind of a nice experience, and it's healing very fast. I tend to heal really fast. So these doctors clearly live with the intention of sharing their skills and their knowledge wherever they are. I think that's a pretty cool thing that they were on the beach in Hawaii with a big first aid kit. That tells you what their intention really is. So in Hawaii, there's a word called ohana. And ohana is generally used, people usually say it means family, but it really means more about connection. Ohana is something they take deeply. I started to say seriously, but there's not too much serious stuff going on in Hawaii. But they take it to heart. And what it means is a literal connection to all people, all Hawaiians. To the point, and the first time a Hawaiian lady told me this, I was horrified because I had no concept for it. They trade children. If one family has all boys and the neighbor has all girls, they'll trade. a couple of boys or a couple of girls. The kids are fine with it. Everybody's fine with it because they're always all together. You know, everywhere, Hawaiian people don't go out and leave their kids at home with a babysitter. The kids go everywhere. So they have luau's, they have celebrations. Birthday parties are family deals, luau's and stuff. So I thought that was a really interesting challenge to our concept of family, is that they don't see ownership of their children. They share raising them. You know, like you hear in Africa, it takes a village, right? They literally live that. And underneath that is an answer to an age-old question. Am I my brother's keeper? And Hawaiians say yes. I am my brother and my sister's keeper. That is their intention of looking out for each other. So it was a very kind of a nostalgic trip for us too, having lived there when my kids were little. We happened to be there for the King Kamehameha Day parade. And I don't know if you've ever been to a parade on an outer island in Hawaii, but it's really cool. And it's very homegrown. The pa'u riders on their horses representing each island with the leis they make. And they gather the flowers and they make the leis. And it's just a beautiful thing. But when my kids were little, they marched in that parade. And John was a Cub Scout for about 5 minutes. And Maggie was a Brownie. I have pictures of them marching in that parade. And then later on, she twirled the baton and when she was a little bit older. It brought back memories of when we lived there. And it was a reconnection with their childhood. Both of them felt it deeply, the impact of having grown up there. It's very special. We had lunch with my old friend Virginia, who was my kid's 4th grade teacher there. She was also a member of the Religious Science Church that I discovered in Hawaii. I had never known about it before. And later on, we served on that board together. So Ohana was very much alive for us this past week, just making these connections over and over and over again. Shuang's parents, I never did get his name right. I think it was Wen and she was Zheng. They're just the most charming people. I kept telling Shuang, I love your parents. They were the most delightful couple together. I think he was 60, she's 57, but they were playful together. She has come through 2 rounds of breast cancer and it's now fine, cancer-free. So there's a great joy in living. They're long-distance bicyclists. They're very athletic, so they were into everything. They did everything. And my son took them just about everywhere he could think of. He was a professor of computer science, and she was a mathematician at the University of Nanking. So they're really interesting, delightful people. So we use sign language because they don't speak English. And the father speaks some little tiny bit and can read a little bit. So we used all these conversations with sign language and grunts and groans and pointing. And we had the most wonderful conversations. One night, John and Shuang were coming. They were too late to get back for dinner, which I had cooked that night. And when they got home, they were really worried because Maggie and I were left alone with the parents. They came in and we were laughing and having a great time, and we'd shared the meal together. And they said, oh my gosh, you don't really have to speak the same language. You have to have the intention of connecting, which we really did. And oh gosh, I just love those people. She had an app on her phone that would translate Mandarin into English, but I didn't know about the app till the very end of the trip. So and I think she didn't show us on purpose. I think she wanted to learn. She was very, very quick learning the language too. We had some really cool conversations. So one day when we were using the app, I said, one day when we were getting ready to go somewhere, I said to her, are you ready? And she said, I said, go out. Are you ready? And then she looked at me. Are you ready? I said, I am ready. So she picked up, which we never would have, the inflection, because Chinese is all about inflection and tone. So she said, oh, are you ready? I am ready. I said, oh, interesting that we actually do that. Are you ready? I am ready. And so we had those kinds of wonderful little intimate moments where we were making these connections, which sounds superficial, but it was deep. It was like 2 humans, it was 2 humans who actually wanted to connect and found ways to do it. So we connected as mothers, too. I said to her on the app, isn't it hard for you to be so far away from your only child who lives in Canada? Because they were from the one-child rule in China. I said, isn't it hard to be so far away from your only child and she's in Canada? And she looked and she thought a minute with a big smile. She said, it's okay. I said, oh, I get it. One mother to another. She said, no, we are so happy she's settled because she had a rough upbringing. Not upbringing, but early marriage and stuff. But that we love John. She said, we love your son. We love John, and we're so happy that she's happy. So on the day that they left the day before us. It was so touching. She came over, she gave me a hug, and she said, see you soon. And I said, I hope so. I hope so. I'll see you soon. She had memorized that. So this human family is connected in ways we can't see unless we take the time to talk to them. When I was living in Hawaii and doing hair in Kona, I always like to share the story because it really shows if you take the time to talk to people, you'll discover you're connected. So this young man, I was cutting a young man's hair. And I said, where are you from? He said, you would never know. I said, try me. He said, well, it's in L.A. I said, what part of L.A.? He said, you won't know. I said, I might. He said, La Cañada. I said, that's where I grew up. And, and then I caught his name. It was Tim Love. I said, did you live on Lavender Lane? He said, yeah. I said, did you have a sister named Heather? He said, yeah. I said, I used to babysit you. I was his babysitter many times when they were little. Here he was in Kona on the most remote landmass in the world. If I hadn't pursued it, I never would have made that connection. So it's intention. I want to know more about this person. I want to find out about this person. I want to see where we're connected. It's really powerful stuff. My daughter and I went to Huggles on the Rocks to hear some Hawaiian music, and she wanted to have a real Mai Tai. So the bar was like this, and we were here, and this young man, her age, came up and sat down and started chatting her up. And then we all got into a conversation, and it was really interesting. He was a very interesting young guy. And pretty soon his girlfriend showed up. And I said to her, oh, what do you do? She says, I teach ballet. I said, oh, my God, I love ballet so much. I can't even tell you how much I love ballet. And I went into this rapturous description of the National Ballet Company of Canada, how great it was. And she was very familiar with it. And I said, I had a friend who passed away who was rather involved in the ballet world. I wonder if you ever heard of Christina Bernal. Her face went white. She did this. Sorry. Yeah. She did that. Her boyfriend couldn't speak. They were like, here we are on the most remote landmass. On 8 islands, they choose this one. This bar, this restaurant, this night, this moment. She finally, after about 5 minutes, she said, Christina Bernal is the most important person in my life. She was mentoring me. I traveled the world with her. Christina died very suddenly, young. We were all shocked. She had danced for the San Francisco Ballet and the Joffrey Ballet, but she had created a method for young ballerinas to keep their feet healthy because their feet get ruined. And so this girl was being mentored by her to take over this teaching. How can that happen, right? Unless you ask questions. And that's the whole key to it, is the intention of caring enough to ask questions. Or just being curious enough or interested enough in another human being. That old saying about being 6 clicks away, or it's more like 2 clicks, like everybody's related to Kevin Bacon or something like that. Yeah, it's like that. Okay, so she was still grieving, but by the end of the evening, we traded emails. Okay, so then we started talking about what I do and blah, 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 and he said, I don't want, and I'm telling this for a reason, because he was about 48 years old. He said, I don't want anything to do with religion. And I said, but what we do is not. It's spirituality. It's transcendentalism. It's quantum physics. It's evolved Christianity. And, he said, well, yeah, okay, maybe. But my daughter said, yeah, you should come and hear my mom. It's because I was speaking at Unity the next day. There's a little Unity church in Kona that has lost their minister, and I went to speak for them. And I'll be darned if they didn't show up. They came. It was just amazing to me. He was blown away by it. And afterwards he said, I didn't know anything like this existed in the world. I didn't know anything like this existed. We think everybody knows about this. They don't. I had a similar experience with my neighbor before I left. I actually put this on Facebook. I have this neighbor, lovely young man, who I've never had a long conversation with, but he's helped me carry things up and down the stairs once in a while. He's just a sweetheart. But I had this plant, and I knew it was going to die if someone wasn't watering it because it's so hot. So I knocked on his door, and I just said, I got a favor to ask. Could you water that plant? He's sure. Where are you going? I said, Hawaii. And he started talking about how much he loved it. And I said, where are you from? And he said, well, I was raised in Mombasa, Kenya. I said, no kidding. He said, yeah, my parents were missionaries. And he said, fortunately, they got out of it before I was really indoctrinated in it. And he said, but I'm not a religious person. And he said, what do you do? And I said, I'm the minister at the Center for Spiritual Living. He said, oh, he kind of backed up, actually. People do that on airplanes. If they say, what do you do? And you say, a minister, they go, okay. And I'm not kidding. It happens all the time. So I usually say, I'm a spiritual teacher. So he said, I started telling him what it was about. I said, no, he said, I don't want anything to do with religion, which is echo everywhere you go, that age group. And I said, it's spirituality. It's a way of life. And it encompasses all the wisdom of the world in many different disciplines. He says, you mean like Joseph Campbell? And I said, yes, he's my hero. And he said, he's my hero too. He's one of my heroes too. So then he said, I didn't know anything existed like that in Bakersfield. He said, but I'll come someday. I'll come someday and hear you. I didn't know anything like that existed. So there's our clue, right? We have to get the word out. So this is Ohana by extension. We widen the circle. And our role here is to get this teaching to the rest of the world. That's our bigger role. Of course it's to build community, and of course it's to serve one another, but it really is to get more people aware that they have power in their life, that God is real, but it's not up there, it's in here, right? And that God is love, and love is God, and that power of love can heal anything. And that's our purpose. It's so much more than we think it is. But it does begin right here. So I'm going to ask some questions today. I know there's lots more people like my neighbor and that man I met in Hawaii. So I'm going to ask us, what would it take for us to set an intention to connect with our natural family? Our natural family is everyone who's seeking this teaching. What kind of an intention would we have to set as a group to actually put that into motion, where we found ways to connect with people and offer them the gift of this teaching? What would it take to create Ohana right here in the center? Well, what would each of us have to give up? I really encourage you to ask yourself that question today. What would you have to give up? I know what I have to give up. I have to give up thinking I'm a target of everybody's projections, because it's felt like that. You have to give up thinking I'm the source of your good, because I'm not. We have to give up thinking there's something about each other that's not right. And we have to allow each other to be where we are at the level of consciousness we're on, and allow for evolution and growth. That's Ohana, that's connection, that's love, but that's our intention. What would it take? What would we have to embrace? What would we have to embrace? Wouldn't it be our power, our self-love? Wouldn't we have to love ourselves first? I cannot imagine anything blossoming without a core of active love in each person. It has to happen. And we have to help each other do that. What would it take for our center to live up to its true potential as, this is how I see it, we are a landing place for those people seeking answers to the deepest questions that humans have ever asked. Who am I? What is the source of my life? What do I have a right to expect? A landing place for those folks, and a launching pad for those who really practice it and live it. You know, when I teach ministers, and they often ask about how do you keep people in your church? I said, that's not our job. Our job is catch and release. Our job is to allow people to come in, get what they need, and make their life fabulous. Many will stay because they live in the area, but many will go because they get so filled with their own purpose and sense of self that they take off and they do wonderful things. So we have to stay moving. This is an evolution thing. We have to have movement. It's like a dance. It's not static and keeping things. It's widening the circle, moving out all the time. So can we set an intention to do everything we can to reach out, reach in, and connect with each other and with the world? Thank you for someone saying yes. We have something wonderful to share with the world, with our brothers and sisters. And we must intend to make ourselves visible. And we must know that there are those who are seeking to connect with us, but most of all, we must be an example of Ohana, of connection. So I encourage you to come up with ideas for how to make our family, and when I say family, I don't mean just 30 people. I mean the family of humanity, some of whom happen to be here, how we can deepen our connection with one another. And how, activities, and you used to do dinners and friendship circles. Someone should revive that. There's plenty of things to do to connect, and serve each other in ways that help us to stay happy. Happy. Like a room without a roof. I love that image, don't you? Yeah. Okay, so what would it take for us to participate in creating a place, co-creating a place of joyful discovery? That's what we want to be, a place of joyful discovery, a landing place and a launching pad. Don't you like that idea? Yes. I do. I think that aptly describes us and who we are. So how we answer those questions, what would it take to set an intention to deepen our connection? What would it take to let go of whatever I've been doing that is disallowing that? What do I need to embrace? And the way we answer questions in this teaching is through spiritual mind treatment. And that is to reconnect with the source, reconnect with our oneness with it, and make a declaration. And that's what we're going to do right now. So we go within, and we declare and know that there's only one power, that God is everywhere present all the time, all of it, all at once. That God really has no name. It is life itself. It is beingness. It is aliveness. It is love. It is all the good that we can imagine as potential, moving in and through that which it makes out of itself, like you and me. Just for the fun of it, just for the joy of it, just because it's nature to do that. It is Spirit's nature to make everything out of itself by becoming the thing it makes and to represent itself as the thing it makes. Individually, personally, God in residence, seeking outlet through you and me and this place. God in residence, active, aware, saying, I am. And for each one of us, it is our purpose to add on to that. I am joy. I am love. I am peace. I am prosperity. I am vitality. I am health. I am friendship. I am connection. I am creative. I am learning. I am evolving. I am ever becoming. I am whole. I am complete. I am happy. I am a presence welcomed wherever I go. I am a light. I am a way shower. I am an example. All this and more. And each one of us comes equipped with everything we need to completely demonstrate the truth of what we say we are. We have all the vitality of the universe, the very energy that makes things move, planets spin in their orbits and all of that. That's the energy that runs this body. That's the energy of health and wholeness. We have all the love we need, the love that says, my life is worthwhile. I am a worthy being. I have a right to be here. And I am expressing my true self all the time. Not my false self, not my ego self, not my hurt self, not my wounded self, not my past self, not my childhood self. My real self. Right now, today, I take up the intention to show who I am and to see it in everyone else. We have all the peace we need. You know, there is a place in every mind that is absolutely still. And as we turn to it, it draws us in and renews us physically, mentally, emotionally, in every way. That peace is ever present. It is the launching pad and the landing place. And we have all the happiness, the joy that's bottled up inside of us. Let's let it out. Let's let it push out the junk, push out the darkness, push out those old ideas. Let the light shine. That's our purpose. So today we declare that we are brand new right now. We bring nothing with us but God, nothing with us but Spirit, nothing with us but the intention to be who we really are, the intention to be seen and known for who we really are, the intention to create deep connection, lasting connection, and a joyful love, a place of discovery. And as we set this word in motion, it is acted upon by the very same power that created the universe out of itself. And that power always says yes. Always says yes. Always says yes. You are my beloved in whom I am well pleased. Ask and you shall receive. For this we live. This is what we teach. And this is what we have to offer the world. And so we say yes to it. Yes. We give our truth to everyone who seeks to know. And so for this and so much more, we leave here today in complete gratitude. Gratitude for our awareness, gratitude for our body, gratitude for our friendships, gratitude for each other, and gratitude for knowing, and say it out loud, please, I am brand new right now. That's the truth, and so it is. Peace.